everybody, and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not News, your favorite podcast about fake news. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kelly.
Hey, Kelly. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, I am riding high on the feminist wave that just swept our House of Representatives and swept the nation. I'm pretty excited right now.
There are some really good things that happened. Like, I never expected Kansas to have a Democrat governor. Like,
right?
Or Wisconsin with Scott Walker.
Didn't Colorado just elect a gay man as well?
Yes.
And here in Oregon, we got Kate Brown, and I love Kate Brown. I'm a big fan.
And we took the supermajority in both the House and the Senate in Oregon.
That's right. We've got some of the youngest women ever elected, under 30 years old. That makes me feel like I've wasted my life.
Oh,
but,
no.
But I'm here doing this with you. So at least we're doing something, right, Beth?
That's right.
That's right. Girl power.
It was a really good night. And just today, Lucy McBath was declared the winner of Georgia 6th, which I am fucking excited about that because
she's amazing.
Handel, oh my God. When John Ossoff lost that runoff to her, that really was depressing to me. I was really upset about that. Like, I felt like he should have won. And I really thought he was going to win. And that was like kind of a knife in the gut after Trump getting elected. It was like, please let us get this seat, that was vacated by a Republican due to his cabinet. I was really hopeful for that. So to see it come around where, it took a couple days and she conceded and she only served for a little while. Yeah, that was nice. I like it.
And Lucy McBath is an amazing candidate as well. And, if anyone who's listening doesn't know this, that used to be Newt Gingrich's seat.
I know, right?
And it's now held by a liberal Black woman who is in favor of gun control. And
her son was murdered by a white man in a gas station parking lot who shot him over music.
Right. Over his music being too loud.
Yeah.
And that happened in Florida. I remember when that happened, it was a really big deal. I remember being in the state when they were talking about it on the news, just there for a visit, but still it's to overcome and be able to get to a point where you can turn that tragedy into this kind of triumph and work for the good of America it's amazing. And my hat is particularly off to her. And I think yours is too, because I know I saw you talking about it earlier today.
Yeah, I was really excited because on election night, they called it for Karen Handel. And I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, no, because it was so close. And then I didn't even hear, because of course I'm not in Georgia, so it wasn't like on our local news. I didn't hear that it was actually still up in the air and being counted. So I saw it today and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like finding a Christmas present in the closet, a couple days after Christmas.
A good one. Really not like the candy that you meant to give your neighbor or anything.
Yeah. The Arizona Senate race has flipped over to where the Democrat is now leaning. And so that hasn't been decided yet. So there's still a chance that a Democrat could take Jeff Flake's seat in Arizona. Right.
And the Stacey Abrams race is being recounted, or I
think it's getting really close to being recounted today as we're recording.
Yeah. So. And so is the Bill Nelson and Rick Scott, and then DeSantis and Gillum. Those are also going into recount stages.
Yeah.
And
did you hear? You know what? I haven't heard anything yet. Did you hear what was the outcome of the Nevada Senate race?
I haven't heard. Wait. Yes, I did hear. Dean Heller was defeated. Yeah, Dirty Dean Heller was defeated. I did hear that, and I will tell you how I know that. It's only because I happen to have to drive long distance for a meeting today, and I got to listen to Pod Save America and catch up. And they talked about beating Dirty Dean Heller.
Yay!
So yes,
Nice.
Yes,
that's awesome. Yeah, I just was thinking about it because I went to bed before I think they'd even started counting Nevada, because they don't count one single vote until everybody has voted. And right. So the poll results weren't coming in for Nevada when I finally had to give up and go to bed.
Yeah, so, and then I hadn't seen Jackie Rosen.
Yeah, Jackie Rosen.
She got 50.4% and he got 45.4%.
Oh my God. That just made my night. That's awesome. Oh, well, everything's making my night. I mean, these are all like really awesome things. And the funny thing is that we were able to get here in spite of more fake news.
That's right. And some really, really bad fake news.
I feel like people are starting to get it. You know, like
I don't
just hear me out for a second.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it's not like I'm like, we're done, Kelly. We don't need to do this podcast anymore. People are
not in total agreement about people getting it. But okay.
I've noticed that when you see some really outrageous fake news, there are a lot more people stopping right away and saying like, no, this is fake news. Don't even talk about it. You know, or no, or it's not having the effect that it used to have. Like, for example, we have a couple of just highlights pre-election and then one post-election meme to talk about tonight. So let's dive in. Let's talk about this story. Kelly,
you want to start with the humorous one first?
I do. Let's do it.
Let's talk about the 20-year-old wonderkind, Jacob Wall, who turns out to maybe not be as smart as his pants thought he was. He is
sorry.
That's okay.
That was a sneeze that would not be stopped. Jacob Wall is as smart as a wall.
That's right.
Although, wait, I'm sorry. That's fake news. Walls don't have IQs. Sorry about that.
It's true. But walls at least do something useful, and Jacob Wall doesn't. So, I mean, a case could be made for the better wall.
Okay.
So, back at the end of October, Jacob Wall made a Twitter post that said, several media sources tell me that a scandalous story about Mueller is breaking tomorrow. Should be interesting. Stay tuned.
Okay.
You want to know what happened next?
Tell me.
Within 10 minutes, there was an investigative reporter named Scott Stedman who talked about, in response to what he was just saying, was like, uh-oh, I have a really bad feeling about this, because I was contacted in the last couple of weeks by a woman who claimed that she heard from a GOP operative that there was someone going around paying women to say that they had been sexually assaulted by Mueller. So he had looked into the story. The woman was unreliable. She couldn't be reached on the phone. She couldn't verify any of the stuff that she was claiming. And then the guy that she said was supposedly offering the money to these women, he was easily reachable, and he was more than willing to confirm that he was paying these women to tell stories about Mueller. So what he concluded, and again, I'm telling you, this is within 30 minutes of this guy posting his tweet. I concluded this was an effort to discredit journalists working on the Trump-Russia story by planning a false story and see who would print it.
Okay, this pisses me off on a lot of levels. But I'm going to start with the sexual assault level, because this is why Republicans think that women lie about sexual assault, is because they're the ones trying to pay women to lie about sexual assault.
That's right.
And I just want to say just a little, go fuck yourself for that.
Yeah. What do you remember the guy's name who he did, and I think we've even talked about him on this show, but there are so many trolls, I can't keep track of all the troll names. I need troll cards, like Pokemon cards, but I don't know that you'll ever catch them all.
Wait, you know how in like My Favorite Murder, they're always getting the trading cards with the murderers on it?
Oh, yes. We need to get trading cards with.
We need some troll trading cards.
Absolutely. Or like in the military when they'd have the deck of cards with all your worst enemies on them. So anyways, the guy who set up the scam to shut down Acorn, and he also went into Planned Parenthood.
James O'Keefe.
That sounds right. I'm going to go with that.
That is right.
Yeah. So this guy reminds me of not even as smart James O'Keefe, because James O'Keefe never really got away with it, but he got farther than this guy.
He did get further than this guy, but he actually tried recently to go undercover. He had somebody go undercover in the Beto O'Rourke campaign.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and what they found was that this was their big get. Campaign staffers legally used campaign finances to buy $300 worth of diapers and formula for asylum seekers that were already over the border and living in a shelter and needed help. And it's legal for the campaign to do that. You can use campaign funds for charitable purposes. Right. And they had every intention and will be reporting it correctly on their finances and their taxes. So that was the big fine that they got. And Ted Cruz used that and said that Beto O'Rourke was funding, asylum seekers.
You know what I say to that? You know what I say to that?
What?
Lock him up, Beth. Just lock him up.
In the White House.
We don't need, yeah.
Lock up Beto O'Rourke in the White House, please. Keep him there for 8 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was their big find. So,
yeah.
Veritas has gone down. It's not getting the big gets that it got since Acorn.
Aw, shucks darn.
I know. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So anyways, back to Jacob Wall. So when even the slightest little bit of journalistic investigation started on this, it was basically like a scratch card, and people just kept getting lucky on this fucking shit. So his email, which is jacobwool@nextmanagement.com, was involved in the registration of the domain name for Surefire Intelligence, which was the company that was saying that they were investigating these claims that the sexual assault was happening, even though, of course, during all of this, Jacob Wall said, no. I don't have anything to do with it.
Right.
I just heard about it from a source.
Right.
So Surefire's official phone number redirects to his mother's voicemail.
Oh, you can't be this dumb. I mean,
you can. You can. Apparently you can. Mom! Answer the phone!
Oh my God.
So, and then the LinkedIn profile pictures, which is my favorite part of this whole entire story, because it literally is though you don't understand that reverse image searching exists. And reverse image searching has existed for at least 5 years. At least 5 years.
Or 57 in Trump adjusted terms.
Right, exactly. For literally a millennia. Because that's how long it feels. But so his pictures of his staff from Surefire Intelligence were pictures of celebrities, and not like little known celebrities, like Christoph Waltz, the Academy Award winner. Christoph Waltz is one of the freaking employees.
Wait, is he like in costume, like Django, like costume or anything?
No, it's just it's like a headshot that seems to, if it were me, I haven't looked up exactly where he got them from, but they all look like if you just did an image search on Google for these people, you would come up with these headshot type pictures. They're the kind of pictures that show up on IMDb.
What's the movie that he's in with Brad Pitt where he's the Nazi? Oh, that was Inglourious Basterds. Inglourious Basterds. That is the picture that he should have used of him, is the one in his like Nazi uniform.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping it real here.
That might have given him more credit among the Trump clan right now, unfortunately. And I hate to even say that, but seriously, it might be true.
It might be.
So, and then the profile picture of the managing partner, Matthew Cohen, was just a picture that he freaking had on his own social media that was just darkened so you couldn't see him.
Oh my God. Okay.
But he had the same exact picture, not darkened, on his own social media.
Awesome.
I mean,
you know what? I have to just say thanks, Jacob Wall. Thanks for making it easy.
Yeah.
You know what? If you're going to try to do this shit, at least be dumb at it. Don't be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, and then, you know what? At least you become famous because we can laugh at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't imagine anyone's mad at you, but I can actually imagine that the FBI is probably going to be investigating you. So I think in the long run, you've maybe shot yourself in the foot. And then you turned around and shot yourself in the foot again. You're like, it wasn't good enough the first time. Because at the same time, the person that he enlisted to help him with this is a conspiracy theorist who is also a GOP lobbyist. I know, shocking that those two things could be together at the same time. Jack Berkman, who has protested the openly gay football player who was signed and also is currently still peddling rumors about Seth Rich's death.
He sounds fun.
He sounds really amazing. He really doesn't at all. I had to look at his Wikipedia page tonight and I just was like, I want to go back to Jacob Ball. At least he's funny.
The meme I saw about this story was when Brett Kavanaugh asked, like, how are you supposed to respond to sexual assault allegations? It was like, ask Robert Mueller, ask for an FBI investigation. You know,
right, exactly.
That's exactly what he did. I mean, this was just laughable from the beginning. Again, I'm a little pissed off that somebody is trying to pay people to claim sexual assault because that just puts that out there that people think that that's what happens and that that's what's true.
Right.
And it's absolutely not.
Right. And there's really not even any evidence that any women were ever paid. No woman ever came forward with this claim. The only woman that was ever involved with this entire case was the woman who supposedly came to these investigative reporters, and she's never been seen.
Yeah.
And they don't know anything about her, so they think that she is not real either.
Probably not. It's probably Jacob Wall's mom, but picture darkened.
Maybe. That would be perfect, wouldn't it?
This is like, instead of like the Dark Knight, it's like the dark picture. That's Jacob Wall. He's not Batman. He's the batting man and the dark picture.
Yeah. It's like the Inception if it was a potato instead of an onion. It's just like you take off the top layer and it's just there's nothing else there. It's just potato all the way down.
And you can mash it on the wall.
Yes, exactly. Do you want to talk about our next fake news story?
Well, I want to start it because I alluded to something about this when we were talking about Beto O'Rourke with the whole asylum seekers. So, Kelly, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people marching towards the U.S. right now to take us over.
Are you serious? Is it an invasion?
Yes, it's an invasion. And most of them are from the Middle East. And either that or gangs. They're from...
I heard they're all criminals.
All criminals, 100%. And they've got wagon loads of food and water and tents with them in order to sustain themselves through this trip. This is what's...
Oh, I heard that that's all paid for by the Democrats.
By George Soros. Right. Okay.
So,
yeah. All right.
That's why I'm not getting my check. He's paying for the caravan.
It's like, how far can $1 billion go? So... yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, President Trump has been making false claims about the migrant caravan. And we have actually an article here from NPR Politics, and it says, fact check, President Trump's false claims on migrant caravan comma, tax cuts, because he can't just lie about one thing per day. It's got to be multiple
No
things.
way. Come on, he's lying about, I think I saw a news story recently that said he averages at about 30 lies a day at this point, which seems very small to me.
Right?
I feel like it should probably
I feel
be
like,
higher.
yeah, they're keeping him away from microphones at this point. Because that's, yeah. So the migrant caravan. So with conservative news outlets glued to the caravan of Central American migrants making their way north through Mexico towards the U.S. border. Now, just to clarify, a migrant is somebody who's looking for work. Like that's what they are. They're somebody looking for work. Trump suggested that there's something more sinister than desperately poor families looking for a better life. Criminals and unknown Middle Easterners are mixed in, Trump tweeted.
Oh, not Middle Easterners.
Yes, because apparently what he believes happens is Middle Easterners that are, of course, that's a code word for terrorists.
Oh,
yes.
I just.
So let me just explain this
thank
really
you.
quick. So if you're from the Middle East, you're a terrorist, and if you're from Central America, you're a criminal. Just to get the terminology down, right?
Oh,
okay. So this is how they're trying to come into the country now, is through this caravan, and with their wagon loads of food and supplies and water. And they're going to rush the border. It's like a Red Rover situation where they're going to get up and they're all going to run at once and break right through, because that's right. That's how it works. And there's this one day of the year that our border patrol just lets like 2,000 to 5,000 people in, like during lunch.
It's the purge.
Exactly.
That's exactly it. 1 hour and they just let everyone come in who wants to come.
And then they immediately go and take jobs from hardworking Americans immediately. Like they just walk up and people are like, "Oh, sorry, Bob, I got to let you go. Juan's here."
Yeah. And he's going to sit down at your cubicle and he's going to know how to do it.
Totally. And then he's also going to kill everybody before he leaves that night.
Right.
Because that's how this works.
They're criminals who want your jobs. Because that's what criminals are like.
Now, if you happen to be a hardworking fruit picker on a farm, that might be true. They might want your job.
Maybe. But do you think most of the people who are hired for that job are people who are worried about losing their jobs?
No.
To migrants?
Those people are worried about what
they might worry about. Yeah, they might worry about losing their job, but I don't want to make light of that. But I don't think that they're worried about losing their job to migrants.
No. And it's, we have the problem right now with like crops like rotting in the fields because farmers can't hire enough people to harvest because they're not allowing people to, which our system's fucked up. There's no doubt about it. Our system is so fucked up that people have to cross the border illegally to go do a seasonal job and then go back. And it used to be people would just go back and forth and it was fine. Now it's a little bit different and people can't come up just to work for a few months and go back because we also don't offer any sort of like seasonal visa for workers like very easily. We probably do. To be honest, it's not like I've ever had to do this, right? So I don't know the ins and outs of the system. But here's the thing. This caravan is not... What do you think, Kelly? What is this caravan actually made up of?
So what I think is that the majority of this caravan is not actually migrants at all. I think it's asylum seekers. I've mentioned before that my son's godfather is from Honduras. It is classified as one of the most dangerous countries in the world. In the world, that means Afghanistan, it's more dangerous. Iraq, it's more dangerous. Saudi Arabia, it's more dangerous. It is always been, and I mean, it's been listed for at least the past 5, I'm going to say at least 8 years because that's how old my son is. And I know we were talking about this around the time my son was born. It's been listed as a place that is one of the most dangerous places in the world. And a lot of that has to do with US immigration policies. And the creation of MS-13 came from bad US immigration policies. And a lot of the stuff that's going on in these countries that people are coming here from El Salvador, from Guatemala, from a bunch of different countries where the US has had a major role in taking those countries and turning them upside down. It's very difficult to look at it and think all these people are criminals because there's just no way you're going to find. I mean, I was reading a story about a guy who was pushing his friend in a wheelchair from Honduras because he needs surgery. And the only place he knows that he can have this type of surgery is in America. And he is trying to push him as far as he can push him. But a lot of the people in the caravan are getting picked up by big trucks, like 18-wheelers are like stopping and picking them up and taking them for part of the way. But he can't lift his friend and his wheelchair into it in the amount of time that they're stopped. So he's just been walking and pushing him the whole way. So, I mean, it's that, it's children, it's a lot of people with children. And, you know, people are like, well, why don't you stay to fight? Well, I mean, my husband is very proud of his country, but he's not staying in his country to fight. You know, he's not fighting off gang members because that's a good way to get dead. And then who's going to support your family? I mean, what happens then? Do you just say, oh, well, I guess mom and kids are going to die? And, you know, there's a lot of people who talk about even if you have a job, you're either extorted by the police or by gangs for protection. Or if you have just a day labor job, you get a job and then someone will accost you on the way home to steal your money. So you're lucky if you get maybe a couple of days' wages if you work an entire week. And that's not a system that you can just fight against. That's a system that has to be changed from the top down. And it's not being done that way. And if they truly wanted to stop this, the best way to stop this would be to speak with the governments of those countries and say, you know, what can we do to help you and make sure that your country is a safe place for these people to live so that we don't have to constantly take in asylum seekers. But they don't do that. They'd rather demonize and create an other, because when you create the other, people don't have to think about the humanity that's involved. They don't want to see the pictures of them. They just want to see pictures of giant crowds. They don't want to see pictures of individuals and hear stories of individuals because then they become people.
Kelly, you're making a lot of sense right now. And you're reminding me of this t-shirt
I'm really sorry
that
about
I
that.
saw recently and told you about. And this is what it's like when my head starts to explode. I just kind of think of this saying, I neither have the time nor the crayons to explain this to you. Yeah, as you're talking about it, I constantly think about some of these big world issues in terms of my household. And so it's reminding me of like when my daughter makes a really big mess, like she gets out all of her paints and all of her arts and crafts and like literally paints fucking everything, and paper and paint is like stuck to a table, and she puts nothing away, and the brushes are like hard with paint on them. And she then is like, Mom, I don't have anywhere to do my crafts. And I'm like, you have a whole table. It's just covered in a mess because you didn't clean it up last time you used it. And she's like, oh, but I need a new table. Like, I'm like, seriously, you got to clean up your mess, kid. Like, I can't be responsible for cleaning up after you at a certain point of your life. Like, you need to start taking that over and being responsible for the mess that you made. And the United States has made a mess, and they don't want to clean it up, and they just want a new table.
That's right.
Which is now, I'm a little upset with my daughter right now for acting like the government.
Don't act like Trump, honey.
My kids know.
I'll put you on timeout so
Oh my
fast.
gosh. I have to tell you this. We went to the My Favorite Murder show. Speaking of t-shirts, this is off subject, but very, very, very fun. I got a shirt there that says, "Here's the thing." Right? My favorite quote by Karen.
Yes.
And I noticed when I got home, kind of in smaller letters, it says, "Fuck everyone." I didn't notice that at the show, like when it was hanging up. And to be honest, it just would have made me want to buy it more. Like that wasn't a detractor for me. But I'm wearing it at home. And my kids are like, I remember that they can read. And my son, I saw him looking at my shirt and I saw him smiling. And he's in kindergarten, so he's learning to read, right? But he's doing really good with it. And I said, "Hey, can you read my shirt?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "What does it say?" And he goes, "Here's the thing. Beep, everyone." And I was, oh my God, that was the best thing ever. You bleeped the swear word. That's amazing. I was so proud. I gave myself another Mom of the Year award. And
that's awesome. You should. Because you know what? He beeped himself.
It was so amazing. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Okay, so you have a meme on, or not a meme, but a tweet on here from Steve Silberman. What's this about?
I do. So there is a video that I'm going to put up on our blog, and it's from a video by this guy named Steve Silberman. And I don't know if it's for sure from him. I'll find out more about where it's actually from. But it looks like someone went down to a Trump rally and they talked to these people who were in line, and there was one man and there was two women and white women. I mean, I don't know that I need to preface that, but Jesus, dear God, white women, get your shit together. I mean, oh, Jesus. But anyways, so the women are asked, what do you want to hear Trump say today? And one of the ladies was talking about the caravan, and the lady right next to her said, it doesn't really matter what he says.
We'll support him anyway.
I
heard about this.
So there are things that you can think in your head that you don't need to say out loud. And I feel like Trump supporters don't understand that concept, because I feel like their leader doesn't understand that concept, and they just follow him, and he says whatever he wants to say, whether it's true or not. And the supporters seem to just follow right behind that, where they don't care. Humanity really doesn't mean anything as long as it doesn't. If they can perceive themselves as a victim of something, then they are the victims, and they don't have to listen to anything anybody says. And it's that perceived victimhood that just is rampant among the GOP that is it's so gross, because I feel like, as a woman, I like to take pride in the power that I have as a person and as a woman and as an adult and as a mom, as everything I do, I like to take pride in the power that I have. And so thinking of just being a victim all the time, it must be a really fearful, sad world to live in, where, your only jollies are from trolling the liberals and going to Trump rallies, which, at this point, there's so many of them, and he's been president for 2 years. Why is he still fucking doing rallies?
He's been
campaigning since he became president. It's basically a Nazi rally at this point, because it's just, I'm going to talk about all the people I hate. We're all going to cheer about it. There's no policy that he's talking about. So it's really gross.
All about this news that we're talking about is, they did this on purpose in order to distract from the election, and also to scare people into voting Republican. He's telling them that if they don't vote Republican, all these bad things are going to happen. And it's just insane. I've never heard, I don't feel like even a George Bush had rallies where they were like, vote Republican or you're all going to die. You know,
No. And I detest George W. Bush, but he wasn't holding rallies.
Like this.
You know, he would have military events that he might go to, and he would certainly try to play up his military angle. I love that the last two Republican presidents we've had have been complete draft dodgers who are like, I love the military, even though I insult Gold Star families and I put you into our longest running war. Whatever. Who cares about those simple facts? But yeah, I don't know.
Let's just talk about some facts really quick. So the caravans, similar to the one that's making its way north right now, have been doing this for years. And they've largely gone unnoticed, and then like the numbers always dwindle significantly before they actually reach the US for asylum. So there's a couple myths going around. One is that asylum seekers have to stop at the first country that offers them refuge. And that is not true. There's no international law stating that. And according to the 1951 United Nations Convention relating to the status of refugees and the 1967 protocol that adopted into the U.S. law, the U.S. must recognize refugees that fear persecution and are not able to get help from their home country. And I wonder, I'm sure it's already happening, but I hope that like the ACLU is suing the government right now for these blatant disregard of the law.
I feel like the ACLU probably needs some good support. Yeah. I mean, I feel like they're suing a lot of places on a lot of different fronts. And that's kind of where we're all running into as Jesus. It's backbreaking labor just to fight against. It really is just the tyranny of this government. And I hate to be that person. I hate to be the person who's like, oh my God, the government is taking over, because it reminds me of what so many conservatives were saying during the Obama administration. But seriously, between child separation and the way that we treat immigrants, even people who are coming here illegally, it's out of hand. The way that the criminal justice system is treating Black people, the way that they've always treated Black people, the way that, just things are we're rolling back rights on women. I mean, it's one thing after another. And guys, go support ACLU, because they're fighting way more than you think they are. I mean, they're fighting ICE all over the place. They're fighting against the, women's rights that are trying to be removed all over the place. They're really fighting for all of our rights. And, so are so many just average citizens who've decided they need to get up and start protesting. But I mean, find a way, do something that you feel like will make the world a better place, because it'll make you feel better.
Absolutely. It's better than not doing anything and being frustrated about it. So,
yeah, it's better than sitting on Facebook and complaining about it, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got one more to go over from the pre-election.
And we had to narrow this down because there were a lot of racist dog whistles. There were a lot of big fake news stories, but we chose the biggest three that
I liked these three because there was actual fake news about all of them as well. Like it was there. Here's what they were saying, and here's the fake news that shows what was being said about it.
Right.
So this one is about revoking the 14th Amendment. So the 14th Amendment says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Now, Trump has come out to say that he wants to override this by executive order, and he thinks that he can. Now, that in itself is not fake news. He has said this, right? But we have a fact check here, again by NPR. So it says, fact check, 14th Amendment on citizenship cannot be overridden by executive order. So basically, they talk to this guy who's like, oh my God, I've been fighting people on this for like 50 years. And no, it's not, it's not something that you can do. It says, There's a quote here that says, Trump may have a lawyer who is telling him the 14th Amendment means something else, but that lawyer is like a unicorn. I love that. That's a quote in an NPR article. So his proposal seems to rely on the work of a small but vocal group of conservative legal scholars who argue that the 14th Amendment has long been misread. In particular, they argue that 5 key words, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, have been misread, and that the authors of the 14th Amendment did not intend to give citizenship to the children of temporary visitors and other non-citizens. So many legal scholars say that the Supreme Court settled this debate more than a century ago, holding that the subject to the jurisdiction thereof refers to anyone present in the U.S. except for children of diplomats and enemy soldiers. And, in parentheses, at the time, Native Americans, which let's just give that a boo. Okay, so here's a quote. I think it's kind of a lunatic fringe argument. Said Margaret Schock, an attorney at the Cascadia Cross-Border Law Group in Anchorage, Alaska. She said, this is the one. She said, I've been debating folks like this for more than a decade, and they claim that the 14th Amendment has been misinterpreted. And now they've got this president in office who apparently has fixated on this as well. So basically, here's the thing. Trump has his tinfoil hat on, and he's our fucking president. That's what it boils down to.
Right. And he's had that hat on for a while. He's been a conspiracy theorist from a long way back.
Now, here's one thing I want to bring up, though, because this happens sometimes where we have some things going on and liberals start sharing some things that are fake news as well. So we need to be careful.
That's right. Because sometimes we're called out because people are like, well, you don't share liberal fake news. And it's true. There's not as much of it. And a lot of times we're sharing things that are coming straight from the White House. But certainly there is fake liberal news. And we do absolutely understand that. We know what you're talking about. We call it out all the time. Yeah.
You can just send those people over to me. I'll refer them to episodes 7, 13, 18, 22, 26, and go fuck yourself. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So I have a Snopes article here. Did Barron Trump benefit from birthright citizenship? The claim is that Donald Trump's son, Barron, became a U.S. citizen thanks to birthright citizenship. Now, just on the face value of that, I was like, that's not how that works. And that's true. That's not how that works. So there was this Twitter user that said, fun fact, Barron Trump was born in March of 2006, and Melania wasn't a legal citizen until July of 2006. So under this executive order, his own son wouldn't be an American citizen. Now, what's the problem there? As we're all...
Don't get your news from Twitter. Is that the problem? Don't ever just use as a source
like a random Twitter. Person, not like a fact check, like with the blue check mark journalist.
Yeah, they don't. You know what? Even if it's a fact checker, don't just believe Twitter.
Okay, so
like maybe do the tiniest bit of
extra
although we
research. Do like to forget that Donald Trump is an American citizen. Donald Trump is an American citizen and Barron Trump's father. So even though Melania Trump wasn't an American citizen yet,
sorry about that.
That's not how that works. So he was not ever an anchor child for his mother. Here's a fun fact, and this is actually a fact. The 14th Amendment isn't the only mechanism under which someone born in America to parents who are not both U.S. citizens may be considered a U.S. citizen from birth. It says, although Barron Trump's mother, Melania, may not have been a U.S. citizen at the time of his birth, his father, Donald, certainly was. And according to current U.S. citizenship and naturalization laws, a child born outside the U.S. acquires citizenship at birth if at the time of the birth, one parent is a foreign national and the other parent is a U.S. citizen, and the U.S. citizen parent was physically present in the United States for at least 5 years, including at least 2 years after 14 years of age. So even though Barron's mother was a foreign national, his father was a U.S. citizen who had lived in the United States for more than 5 years, so Barron would have become a U.S. citizen at birth, even if he had not been born in the United States. So,
right. That's how John McCain was also considered a citizen, wasn't it? Because John McCain wasn't he born in Hawaii before Hawaii was a state?
I don't remember that.
But his father was a U.S.
I know
citizen.
Obama was born in Hawaii.
I feel like I remember there was this. Yes.
I'm aware of that.
But when we were doing research on this, I was actually surprised, and this is my personal aside. I was surprised when I read this because it seems like, if I'm right, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah. So Melania became a citizen 4 months after Barron was born. And I've never had anything in common with these people until this point, because my husband became a citizen 4 months after Odom was born, my son. So he had been in the process of, he had been a green card holder. You have to be a green card holder for 10 years before you become a citizen. And he had done all the citizenship tests. And then I remember having to take a very small infant to this gigantic, it was the University of California. I believe it was the University of California. It was their big stadium. And it was like, there were so many people. That place was packed. I think that they did at least 500, 600 people were sworn in as citizens the same day. And they had another one the day, like that same day, like at night. So there are a lot of people in Los Angeles always becoming citizens.
Girl,
like that's a big place to become a citizen.
Changing my phone right now. I can't. The process to become a citizen is insane.
It's intense. Yeah, but I will tell you, one of the questions on the citizenship forms that you have to do is, are you now or have you ever been a drunkard? Which I think is great. Have you ever committed a crime for which you have not been arrested? And my husband actually looked at the person who was interviewing him and said, "Do you ever catch people on that?" She was like, "Way more than you would think."
People, they value honesty. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the end of our pre-election. We're going to move on to post-election. Now.
Oh, yeah, because it doesn't stop.
I think this literally came out like at 12:01 the next day.
Yeah, that would make sense. They probably had it ready to go.
All right. So I'm in a Snopes Facebook group. That's how I saw this. Somebody had posted this meme. It's from Flyover Culture. It has a picture of 4 people on it. It doesn't have their names, but
no,
hopefully I was able to figure it all out. It said, Democrats just elected ... A woman whose IQ is lower than a salamander, comma. A man who preys on underage prostitutes, comma. An anti-Semitic America hater who married her brother. And you'll never guess what. This woman has a turban. So obviously that just says it all, right? And an anti-Semitic racist who beats women. And then it says, y'all must be so proud. So the first picture, Kelly, who's that of?
I believe that's Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez.
It is. And so the claim there is that her IQ is lower than a salamander's. Now, Kelly, I wanted to fact check this. So here's what I did.
Did you find out the IQ of a salamander?
I did.
Oh, you did? Really?
I found an article on Quora called What is the Smartest Amphibian? Now, it starts out.
Is it a salamander?
No, it's actually a frog.
Oh.
So it starts out with this sentence: this field is not crowded with competitors. So basically, their brains are very small, and salamanders don't have big brains. And basically, what their claim is, says here, salamanders, including giant ones, are dumb as a bag of bricks. They are able to associate events to food, but all predators do this. And then it says spiders do this. So here's the thing. This woman, Alexandria
Ocasio or Ocasio-Cortez.
I think that she is definitely has an IQ over being able to associate food with events. Like she can, I've seen her walk. I've heard her talk. I would say so. Here she is in a picture, standing upright. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, without knowing her IQ, it is higher than a salamander's. And so that statement right up front is false.
Yeah, I would say that she does have a degree from
She is very smart.
Yeah, she also won by 78%.
Yes.
She was not fucking around in this race. This was not a tight race at all. She was just like,
when she won the primary, I'm sorry. When she won the primary, they were like, she's been elected. Yeah. Like it wasn't even a thought that she was going to get elected. So, and she's got a really bright future. I'm excited to see what she does. So the second picture, a man who preys on underage prostitute. Now this one is about